Hi, I am Anand. I have been selected for Indian Police Service in Civil Service Examination 2015. My optional paper was Anthropology. So I am going to tell about the strategies to study anthropology and also how to write good answers in mains examination. So first I will tell about my mains experience. I wrote anthropology option in 2014 and 15. In the both the times I scored 250 marks, but 250 marks. But I am telling the how the paper evolves over the period of time, because earlier the questions were very direct in nature. Okay, so if you prepare the static part and also if you prepare 8 to 10 points for every topic, you can easily write and get good marks. But now it's become very dynamic and it became bit analytical. So you have to adapt to the needs of the examination. Okay, so first let me tell about the anthropology. Okay, anthropology is a wholesome science. It studies the human in the both biological and cultural perspective. Okay, unlike other subjects like sociology, political science, economy, it deals the whole some part of the human being. Okay, it not only studies the social aspect, it also studies the biological aspect, how one human being varies among the others. Okay, how human evolution took place, how socio-cultural institution varies among the different social groups. Okay, so this holism of the anthropology differentiate from the other social sciences. Okay, so in anthropology, in the first paper is a good scoring paper. Okay, because the first paper deals with the static part. There is no dynamic thing in the first paper. Okay, in the first paper, if you divide the syllabus, there will be three parts. First one is biologic part, and second one is sociocultural part. Third one is anthropological thoughts. Okay, so first let me deal about the biological aspect. Okay, in the biological part, we will study about the human evolution. Okay, in the evolution, we will deal about the different evolution theories and how human evolved from apes, from Australopithecus to Homo erectus, then to Homo sapiens and to modern men. Okay, then we will deal about the genetics part. In genetic parts, we'll deal how human varied between each other. Okay, and how one social group varied among each other, how we adapt to the environment, and how human growth and development took place, and also the application part, like how anthropology will be helpful in sports, how it will be helpful in nutrition, and how it will be helpful in defense, how it will be helpful in forensic studies. So these are the aspects we will deal in the biological part. The beauty of the biological part is, if you write more answers from biology part, you can get good amount of scores. Okay, because this is a static part. Okay, so if you take any topic, there will be constant points. So if you write all the points which are recorded by the examiner, you can get around 60% of the marks. Okay, so unlike social part, this is a good scoring part. So you have to pick two questions from this part and one question from sociocultural part. Okay, then I will tell about the materials which used for the biological part. In the biology part, you need this Nadia Pinath book for physical anthropology and brain tree material, and also the printed notes which given by the Sridharan sir will be the value addition. Okay, and then social cultural part. In the social cultural part, we study about how the society evolves, how the different socio-cultural institutions took place in the different cultures, like marriage, kinship, economic organization, political organization, religious anthropology. So how these kind of different socio-cultural institutions presence among the different social groups. So here how we have to study is, first we have to understand the basic concepts. For example, if you take marriage means, why there is no universal definition for marriage, and what are the different types of marriage, what are the different rules present in the different societies. Okay, so here we have to understand the concepts and you have to give the one case studies. Okay, so in sociocultural part, you have to give case studies for each and every answer, then only you can get good scores. Okay, so for sociocultural part, first you have to make a list of 30 to 40 case studies regarding the tribes. Okay, so you have to use these case studies for different answers. For example, the same case study, like take the example of Todas of Nilgiris. The Toda tribes can be quoted in the polyandrous society. At the same time, the Todas can be quoted in the pastoral society. Okay, so likewise, you can use the same example for different answers which can be asked in the examination. Okay, and then while writing the answer, sociocultural part, you have to structure the answer properly. Okay, So the structure of the answer is very important. For example, you have to start the answer with a proper definition, which is given by any social anthropologist, and also you have to mention the social anthropologist's name. Okay, then only you will get good marks. And you have to write the content, and then you have to write the case study, and you have to conclude. So the structure of the answer is very important. At the same time, you can draw the flow charts if needed in the answer. Okay, and also in the physical part, like biology part, you have to draw the good amount of diagrams. For example, if there is a comparative anatomy between man and ape, means you have to draw the skull between man and apes. So for this, you need to do the diagram practice every day. Okay, so wherever the diagrammatic questions asked, you have to pick that questions. Okay, then you can get good marks. And also there are questions like different tool tradition in the prehistory, like Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, Chalcolithic. These are the different periods of the prehistory. So in this prehistory, you have to draw the tools for each prehistoric period. If they ask you to discuss the Neolithic period, you have to mention the tools traditions in those period, and you have to draw the diagrams. So you can fetch that extra marks. Okay. And the last part in the first paper is anthropological thought. See, anthropological thought is one of the most scoring area after physical anthropology. Okay, there are around 12 theories. In these theories, what you have to do is you have to do what the theory talks about, how it defines the culture. Okay, who coined this theory? You have to mention the social anthropologist's name and their works and their case study and their field works, and you have to mention their contribution and the significance of this theory, and you have to write the criticism of the theory. So these are the broad aspect you have to cover in all the theories. Okay, and the questions which are asked in the theories are very direct manner. It can be asked in the short notes, and also it can be asked in 50 marker or 20 marker. If they ask in the 50 marker and 20 marker, means they will ask you to analyze the theory, critical analysis, or sometimes they will ask you to compare between the two theories. For example, classical evolutionism can be compared with neo-evolutionism, and also you can be asked to compare the structuralism and the structural functionalism. How structural functionalism is different from structuralism. So while studying, you have to link between the theories, and you have to understand the intricacies and minute detail between the theories. Okay. So this will complete our first paper. Okay. So for the first paper, the materials needs to be prepared is Pnath book for physical anthropology and brain tree notes, and Sridharan sir class notes, and Sridharan sir printed notes. In the class notes, sir will provide lot of case studies. For around 40 to 50 case studies he will give. So these case studies will be handy in the examination. Okay, and for every question you can quote one or two case studies. While quoting case studies, don't simply write in the as a passing reference. While writing case studies, at least you have to talk about the socio-cultural institutions and their existing problems in the brief manner. At least you should write the case studies in the 4 or 5 sentences. Okay. Then after that, we'll deal about the second paper. See, the second paper is not separated from the first paper. There are a lot of linkages between paper 1 and paper 2. Okay. So while studying the paper 1, you have to link those topics with the second paper. For example, there is a economic organization part in the paper 1. So this topic has relevance with the ethno-archaeology in the second paper. Okay. At the same time, prehistoric society is mentioned in the syllabus in the first paper. And also it has relevance with the paper 2. In paper 2, part 1.1 has the relevance with this topic. Both the content are similar. Only thing is, in the first paper you have to mention the world sites and world examples, and second paper you have to mention the Indian sites. Okay, that's the only difference. So in the preparing, you have to see the similarities between the topics and prepare accordingly. Okay. Then there are two parts in the second paper. First one is Indian society. Second one is Indian tribes. So among these two parts, the most scoring is Indian tribes. Okay. So like this physical anthropology, the tribal part is the most scoring area. So you have to choose two questions from this part. So the tribes means, Indian tribes means the problems of the tribes, like land alienation and the displacement and illiteracy, poverty. So these are the major problems of tribes. So you have to analyze the causes, consequences, and the measures taken by the government and what can be done. And also you have to mention the case study for each and every problem. So while writing case studies in the second paper, you can write the recent case studies. So for this, you have to follow the national newspaper or any magazines. Okay. So while reading the magazines, if you come across the problems of any tribes, just make a note of it and compare it to the syllabus. Okay. So if there is a displacement in any area, means any area due to mining activities or development activities, these things will come in the newspaper every day. Okay. So you can mention this example with the displacement and its effect on tribes. Okay. And also you can mention this example in the rehabilitation issues. Okay. So likewise, you can mention the current case studies in the paper tribal part. Okay. Which will fetch you extra marks. There is no doubt in this. At the same time, the first part is Indian society. See, in the Indian society, earlier the questions were very direct in nature. For example, they will ask you to write about tribe caste continuum or interplay between great and little tradition. But now the questions are becomes bit analytical. Okay, how it became analytical? For example, recently they used to compare with the interplay between great and little tradition with Sanskritization, like Hinduization of tribes. Okay, so and sacred complex. In sacred complex also there is a interplay between great and little tradition takes place. So while preparing the second paper, you have to link the topics with the other topics which present in the syllabus. So this should be done while preparing for those topics. Okay. So no topic should be prepared in the isolated manner. There is an interlinkages. So you have to identify that and accordingly you should prepare. Okay. So that's the basic strategy for paper 2. And the most important thing for anthropology is the answer writing practice. Because most people ignore the answer writing practice. They think that I will do the answer writing practice after my preparation. But this will not work. This may work in any other subject, but this will not work in anthropology. While preparing itself, during the preparation time itself, you have to write answer writing practice. Why I am stressing again means, because lot of questions which are asked in the mains examination are repetitive in nature. If you see the last 5-year question paper, most of the questions are repeated. So, and also if you split the syllabus into questions means, there will be hardly 200 questions. So 200 questions will cover the entire syllabus of the anthropology, both paper 1 and paper 2. Okay. So if you write 2 questions in every day means, the whole syllabus will be completed in 100 days. Okay. So start writing answers every day, at least write 1 or 2 questions every day, so you can easily complete the syllabus. And also you can write good answers in mains if you already write these questions in your home. Okay. So just see the last 5 years questions. Okay. And accordingly prepare. Okay. I took guidance for anthropology from Sridharan sir in the Times Institute. It was really helpful for me to get good score in anthropology. The best thing was sir teaches anthropology in the holistic manner, because this holism is needed for anthropology preparation. Not only in the anthropology preparation, it should be reflected in an answer. While writing answer, the answer should be wholesome. You should discuss the holistic part of the society. So this anthropological flavor, the tinge is needed for your answer. So this flavor should be reflected in your answer. Then only it will differentiate your answer from the general studies answer. Okay. So in this aspect, sir has helped me, and also he has given the list of 40-50 tribals. So this was a handy for me for writing case studies. Okay. And the notes for sociocultural anthropology and the printed materials was really helpful. So it helped me to get good score in the mains examination. Okay. And another beauty of the anthropology is it will be really helpful in GS1 paper. In the GS1 paper, there will be Indian society part. In the Indian society, there are 4 to 6 questions can be asked every year. So if you do your anthropology preparation well, you can write good answers in the Indian society part, because the things which we study here can be the value addition in the answer in the GS answer, especially in the Indian society part. And also, if you see the last previous year paper, in every GS question, even in the ethics also, at least 1 tribal questions are asked. Okay, so if you do the tribal part preparation well, so it will be also helpful in your GS answers. Okay, so anthropology not only helps in this optional, it will also helpful in the GS answers. Okay, all the best. Thank you.